everyone, in today's video I'll be showing you how I painted this red-eyed tree frog using gouache paints. Now I started in my sketchbook with an initial sketch of the tree frog using a regular graphite pencil. I usually use water-soluble graphite if I don't want to have those harsh lines showing through, but because this I'm creating a gouache painting which is more opaque. I'm not going to have a lot of those lines showing through when I'm done with the final painting because I'm going to be layering in multiple layers of paint. So that's why I'm using regular graphite, because I need some of those lines to show through as I progress through the painting so that I can have a guideline as to where the shadows and the different areas, the lighter areas of the patterns on the tree frog, where they need to come. So that's why I'm keeping some of that graphite lines visible. You can lighten it up with and you need an eraser, but just try to, in this case I try to keep some of those lines visible so that it can be my guide as I'm doing the layers or applying the layers of paint of the gouache. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm just putting a base layer of color onto the entire tree frog. So I'm not paying attention to shadows, highlights, nothing at this stage. I just want to get the areas covered. So the areas that need to be yellow, I'm putting them as yellow. The areas that need to be green, I'm just covering it just to give me a map to work with of where everything is and where the different colors are going to be. Now you can see I'm starting to go through with another layer of browns and some oranges and even some little darker greens, just to get some of those shadow areas as I'm working through the layers. But I'm still now applying that base layer of orange color for his feet, as well as now I'm working on the eyes. You can see it looks very cartoony at the moment. There's not much detail in there. There's not much shadows, highlights, nothing at the stage. At this point, everything is very flat. Nothing looks three-dimensional or realistic because everything is just a solid color across. There's no details added as yet. Okay, so now I'm starting to add a little bit of shadows for the eyes, or the darker areas of the eyes, as well as for the orange for the feet. And now you can see I'm starting to refine some of those areas on his body, getting some of those darker greens in, also trying to define those his knee and the area of his legs and his hands, and just trying to get that really define it to make it stand out so you can see the difference between where the leg is and where the hand is. And you can see that I'm just starting to define some of those really dark areas on the face and around the eyes. Okay, so you can see now I'm just adding some of those shadows as well on the nostrils and just defining those a bit more. And also working on some areas of the face. Now I'm working with different color greens. For the shadow areas I'm using darker greens, and on the body as well now I added a little bit of brown as well, a little hint of it. And then I'm adding some yellow and mixing it with some of the green just to lighten it up for the face areas and the lighter areas on the body. You can see it's a back and forth process. I'm layering multiple layers of paint. Be sure when you are doing this to let the previous layer dry, otherwise you can lift up the color as you're adding multiple layers or the next layer. So now you can see I'm starting to add more texture and more of the shadow areas, as well as using some browns and darker greens mixed with brown just to define the tree frog a bit more and make it look more three-dimensional. Now I'm just letting that dry, and I'm moving over to the branch that the tree frog is sitting on. And you can see now I'm just basically, this has got a lot of moss and little leaves and grass growing from it. So I'm just putting some base layers of some darker or mid-tone greens and some browns, some burnt sienna. I am going to go over it with multiple layers of greens. You can see I'm coming through now with the darker green. So you can see I'm adding layer upon layer of greens and browns, just trying to get it to look right. If you see it's not looking completely right, or there's a lot of maybe a particular color maybe it's looking too brown, then you can add more layers of green over and use lighter greens as well and darker greens for the real dark shadow areas. With gouache, the good thing is that can be used opaque as well. So if you go over an area with lighter color, it does show up. So it's not as like watercolor, but you can use gouache like watercolors as well. Gouache can be adjusted to how opaque or transparent you want it to be, or translucent you want it to be, depending on the amount of water you add as you're applying the layers of paint. So now you can see I'm just starting to add some of those textures, uh, really bringing out those uh, differences in the shadows, highlights, brightening up some of the areas, blending in some areas as well, just to get them to look, have a good transition between colors. So I just added some white for the highlights of the eyes, as well as some white to the lighter areas where the light is reflecting off the body, the arms, the legs as well. Just paying close attention to my reference photo to see where those highlights go. That just makes it look more three-dimensional. And yeah, I think that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like and share. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Till the next one, bye.